Hi everyone. In this particular video, we are going to discuss about kingdom Monera. In this particular video, we will study all the types of bacteria present in kingdom Monera and the reproduction mode of nutrition, the organization of these bacteria and everything about kingdom Monera in this video. Actually, kingdom Monera contains organisms like bacteria, and these bacteria are the sole members of this kingdom. These bacteria are most abundant organisms and they are found almost everywhere, and the membrane bound organelles like mitochondria, chloroplast, etc. were absent in this bacteria. They have a primitive nucleus and they show the most extensive metabolic diversity. This is the general introduction about kingdom Monera. And when we come to the classification of this kingdom, generally Monera is classified into archaebacteria, eubacteria, cyanobacteria, mycoplasma and actinomycetes. We'll study one by one. Firstly, archaebacteria are the ancient bacteria, or they are the oldest bacteria. They are also known as special monerans. They are found in very hostile or adverse conditions, and these bacteria, they contain pseudomurine in their cell wall, and it is said that the pseudomurine is responsible for the survival of these bacteria in extreme conditions. When we come to the types of archaebacteria, there are three types, that is methanogens, holophiles and thermoacidophiles. Generally, methanogens live in marshy areas. The mode of nutrition in methanogens is chemoautotrophs. It means that they make their own food with chemicals. Generally, methanogens are present in the gut of ruminants like cows and buffaloes. Methanogens help in the production of biogas, which is methane, that is CH4, from the dung of animals. These methanogens, they make biogas, which is methane, from the dung of cows and buffaloes. And next one, halophiles. They are aerobic forms. That means they live in the presence of oxygen. They live in very extreme salty areas, that is there are saline organisms. Thermoacidophiles are facultative anaerobes, which means they are anaerobic organisms. They don't need oxygen for their survival. Even if the oxygen is present, they can survive in the presence of oxygen. They are found in hot sulfur springs, and these are also chemoautotrophs in nature. Next classification is eubacteria, which means that they're the most extensive microbes on this planet. That is, on earth, eubacteria are the most extensive microbes. Based on the shape of eubacteria, they were classified into four types, namely coccus, bacillus, spiral and vibrio. Coccus are spherical and non-flagellate. It means that they don't have flagella, so they are incapable for locomotion. Example for this is streptococcus. And next, bacillus, they are of rod-shaped bacteria. They are flagellate, which means they have flagella, and the movement is shown by these bacilli. Example is lactobacillus. And the third classification is spiral, which is coiled shaped bacteria. As you can see in this picture, they have coiling. And example for coil shaped bacteria is spirillum. Vibrio is a bacteria which have comma shape, and the example for Vibrio bacteria is cholerae, which causes cholera disease. And eubacteria have a simple structure and they show complex behavior. This is a point to remember, as that eubacteria has a simple structure and they show complex behavior. The outer layer of eubacteria has glycocalyx layer. This glycocalyx layer is made up of two polysaccharides. That is, if it is a loose sheath, then it is a slime layer. If it is tough and thick, then it is a capsule form. The cell wall of this eubacteria is made up of peptidoglycan or murin or mucopeptides. The flagella present in eubacteria, they help in the locomotion. They help in the movement of the bacteria. The pili present at the outer surface of bacteria, they help in the conjugation, that is, they help in the sexual reproduction. These pili are also called as sex pili. And fimbriae present on the outer surface, they help the organism or the bacteria cell to attach to the surfaces. To attach to external surfaces, the bacteria cell uses fimbriae. And the cell membrane of bacteria has a lipoproteinaceous nature, and it is made up of lipids and proteins. The mesosomes present in bacteria, they help in cell wall formation and DNA replication. It is that if you take a cell membrane, there is an infolding of cell membrane, and this is called as mesosome. They help in the cell wall formation and DNA replication. It is an important point to remember. And when we come to inclusion bodies are a type of structures which hold some substances and they perform a particular function. If you take gas vacuoles or some kind of inclusion bodies which help in buoyancy, nothing but they help in floating of the organism. And the ribosomes are of 70s type, which is 50s plus 30s. And the nucleoid present in this bacteria is single, circular, and double-stranded DNA with histone proteins. The plasmid is present in bacteria. It is an extra chromosomal DNA. They have self-replicating nature. Now, when we come to mode of nutrition in eubacteria, it is generally of two types, that is photoautotrophic and heterotrophic. In photoautotrophic, the organism is capable of making its own food. In heterotrophic, the organism derives energy from other organisms or by the products formed from other organisms. Again, autotrophic is divided into photoautotrophic and chemoautotrophic. Photoautotrophic, which means photosynthetic; chemoautotrophic, which means chemosynthetic. Photoautotrophic means that the source of energy is light. In chemoautotrophic, the source of energy is from inorganic chemicals. The examples for photoautotrophic are green sulfur bacteria and purple sulfur bacteria. The examples for chemoautotrophic are nitrifying bacteria, iron bacteria, hydrogen bacteria, and sulfur bacteria. Again, heterotrophic organisms are of two types: photoheterotrophic and chemoheterotrophic. Photoheterotrophic means that the source of energy is again light, but in photoheterotrophic, the source of electron is also light. In photoautotrophic, the source of electron is H2O, H2S, and S, which means sulfur, from depending on the particular bacteria. The examples for photoheterotrophic is purple non-sulfur bacteria. The examples for chemoheterotrophic is parasitic organisms, saprophytic organisms, and symbiotic bacteria. Where parasitic organisms, they get their nourishment from a host organism, and in saprophytic they get their nourishment from dead matter, and in symbiotic organisms they maintain a mutual connection with a particular bacteria or with particular organism. Now when we come to reproduction in eubacteria, reproduction in eubacteria is of two types, that is asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, binary fission and endospore formation is seen, and sexual reproduction, which is a fusion of two gametes, that is syngamy, is generally observed. It can be seen in transformation, conjugation, and transduction. The economic importance of eubacteria is they act as biofertilizers. It is that they increase the fertility of the soil. Example, nitrogen fixing bacteria, Clostridium, they fix the nitrogen, atmospheric nitrogen, into the soil, thereby fertility of the soil gets increased. Some bacteria like Acetobacter aceti help in the vinegar production, and some bacteria like lactobacillus help in curd, cheese, yogurt production, and some bacteria like subtilin, they help in the antibiotics production. And there are also harmful bacteria which cause harm to humans, plants, and animals. The bacteria like Vibrio cholerae, it produces cholera disease, and Salmonella typhi, it produces typhoid disease, typhoid fever. Clostridium tetani, it causes tetanus disease. And when we come to cyanobacteria, it is a blue-green algae. It is said as blue-green algae, but it is not algae, it is bacteria. But the general name is said as blue-green algae. These are primitive, oxygenic, photosynthetic bacteria found in nature, and the flagellate stage in these organisms is absent. The cell wall is made up of mucopeptides. These are bacteria or unicellular, they are colonial or filamentous. They can be marine or terrestrial as well. The colonies are surrounded by a gelatinous sheath. Gelatinous sheath is present around the colony of the cyanobacteria. Nucleoid is present in these bacteria. They have photosynthetic pigments like chlorophyll A, keratin, xanthophyll, phycobilins, etc. The nutrition for cyanobacteria is that they are photosynthetic autotrophs. That means they are photoautotrophs. The reserve food materials in these bacteria are cyanophysian starch, lipid globules, and protein granules. The reproduction is by asexual mode of reproduction. It is by fission, fragmentation, and spore formation. Some are heterocystous forms. As you can see, this is a colony of cyanobacteria. This is a colony of cyanobacteria, and in this particular cells are called as heterocysts, which means they help in N2 fixation. Some cells fix N2, those cells are called as heterocysts, and they act as biofertilizers. Example, nostoc and Anabina. And lastly, Red Sea causing BGA is Trichodesmium erythrum. Trichodesmium erythrum. It is a algal blooms in polluted water. In polluted water, they form algal blooms, which so that the river appears as red color. The river appears in red color, but many think that it is algae, but actually it is the bacteria. That is cyanobacteria. And next is mycoplasma. Mycoplasma, these are the smallest living organisms. They can survive without oxygen. These are pleuropneumonia like organisms. These are called PPLO. Pleuropneumonia like organisms. They completely lack the cell wall, and these organisms are inhibited by tetracycline, which acts on its metabolic pathway. Tetracycline acts on the metabolic pathway of mycoplasma so that they are inhibited. The growth is inhibited. And these are highly pleomorphic in nature. And these are generally pathogenic to humans, animals, and plants. In plants, it causes witch's broom disease. In animals, it causes pleuropneumonia. Pleuropneumonia affects cattle. And in humans, it causes mycoplasmal urethritis. And last classification of Monera is actinomycetes. These are branched filamentous bacteria. They form radiating colonies. They are branched filamentous bacteria, and they also form radiating colonies. Cell wall contains mycolic acid. The nutrition from actinomycetes is they are saprophytic. They feed on dead matter like dead organisms, dead plants, etc. And they are decomposers. They decompose the organic matter which is dead. And some are parasites, which means they get nutrition from a host organism. Examples are mycobacterium, which causes tuberculosis. And some members in actinomycetes are helpful, or they are useful for the antibiotics production. Example is that streptomycin is an antibiotic produced by a bacteria